One thing this glorified was not just trucker culture, but CB culture as well.
Yeah,
and
it's all that is where like the fad of like everyone getting a CB radio in the '70s came from.
Yeah,
was this movie?
It was a precursor to the internet. Basically, was people would meet up using like CB communication, that kind of thing. So. We're joining
in line with Convoy that came out in the 70s, and
that's a movie we haven't done yet.
Moving On, which is a television show.
So here we are with the Reels and Wills podcast, just finishing up a screening, Smoking the Bandits here in Atlanta, where we are quite thirsty and we are drinking beer slightly better quality than Coors.
And by that you mean water?
That's true, yes. Anything with H2O and alcohol. In fact, I'm drinking a Sweetwater 420, which is one of Atlanta's own.
Sweetwater Going Coastal Tropical IPA. Yeah. Miller Lite, Blue Moon, Castle Brown.
They did not.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Yeah, they did not have Georgia breweries back in the 1970s.
No, not at all. And the voice you just heard was Gabriel Owens of the Salty Seaman YouTube channel.
Right. AKA the Salty Seaman, yes.
He is on our Transformers podcast, so check that out as well. But we're here with some folks from the Atlanta region SCCA, and all of us like performance driving, except for Gabe, who just likes movies. So
I appreciate pretty cars.
We'll get to the Trans Am in a second, but first I want to hear from my Targa buddy and autocross ringer, Deech Madovan. Deech, this was your first time seeing this movie. What'd you think?
Yes, it was, and I cannot believe it has taken me this long to see it. It was absolutely spectacular. I didn't know what expectations I had coming into it. I knew that it was supposed to be pretty funny, but to me, this was on the level of an Airplane. This was just downright comedy, non-stop for the movie, and it was cool cars and some good old-fashioned southern rednecks and beer, so how can you go wrong with that?
Absolutely. So Marcus Wheeler is also with us. Marcus, have you seen this before?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
All right, so what did you think about seeing it on the big screen? Have you ever seen it?
I've never seen it on the big screen, but I thought it was awesome. It's great to watch it with a crowd that enjoys the movie.
Absolutely. I mean, what you don't get when you're watching it at home is when, you hear the V8 engines and it's all around you. And, we talked about on our main podcast about how that Trans Am, I think, maybe had 200 horsepower. Not that fast, but you wouldn't think that watching this movie, because the Trans Am is, of course, magical. Jumps over things, doesn't get a scratch on it.
I will say, I think my favorite superpower that the Trans Am had was the ability to remain spotless for the entire movie.
There's not a speck of dust on that car at the end.
No.
It was some special paint that Pontiac used in the 70s, the magical power of the screaming chicken. Now, Dean, you were the only one who actually brought a date to this movie.
Yes, my wife.
Which, of course, shows the power of Miatas, really, if we're going to be honest. Dean's a Miata driver with us in the club. Dean, have you seen Smokey and the Bandit before?
Yeah, I saw it many times. And the funny thing for me when I was a kid, what I took away from it was I wanted to be the truck driver. So I spent my entire childhood going, I could name probably every truck in there as far as I knew. That was a Kenworth, and that's Peterbilt, and that was a Mag, and that was a Ford. So yeah, I had that was it for me when I was growing up. I wanted to do that more than drive the Trans Am. Now it's a little different. I have a Miata.
So you were the kid like when someone says like, man, Optimus Prime's a cool Mack truck, you're like, no, Optimus Prime's an arc glider.
Oh yeah. So no, that was always funny. I think the thing that you're talking about watching at home, the thing I noticed the most about watching it here was how blatantly obvious it is on the big screen that Sally Field was not driving that car. Yeah. So they showed.
Oh, absolutely.
Days before CGI, like we didn't have a women's stunt. There was no women stunt drivers because the person playing Sally Field from the long distance shots in the stunts is obviously a man in a wig.
Well, I didn't know Sally Field had a beard.
That's actually how times have changed. One of my good friends and previous guest on the podcast, Christopher Allman, who runs the Middle Georgia SCCA, he is good friends with a young woman who is like one of the top female stunt drivers in the country. And so if you've seen any movie shot in Georgia with cars, she was doing the driving for like Winona Ryder in Stranger Things, and probably every woman in The Walking Dead and half the men too. She was doing the stunts in that.
Absolutely. Now, how many of you guys are Walking Dead fans? Okay. Did you guys see this season that the Bandit trailer, the tractor trailer, was in Walking Dead this year?
What? You're kidding me?
No.
All right, now I'm not a huge Walking Dead fan, but
Yeah,
my
so-
buddy Sid is.
So
So
I ended up.
Ending of the series, I'll have to.
No. It doesn't have really anything to do with the series. At one point, the two key characters are behind this abandoned 18-wheelers,
I've heard
trailer.
about this.
And I'm sitting there watching. I go, man, that looks familiar. And
Bill and the other guy?
yeah, and I looked it up, and sure enough, it's the Bandit trailer. And then either later that evening or the next day, they actually talked about the fact that yes, they did use one of the old trailers from the movie.
oh, that's awesome. But like, I totally get wanting to be a trucker after seeing this film. Like, you were friends with everybody out there. You talked to all your friends on the CB, and I think at this time, it was before like big corporations got a handle in trucking. So a lot of folks were owner-operators. A lot of folks, it was their life, and it was kind of its own subculture onto itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are here at the Royal Oak Pub, right next to the theater, and that's where they have graciously decided to serve us a beer that is not Coors. So, yeah, seeing it on the big screen, Smoking the Bandit, if you get the chance, highly recommend it. Everything's louder, everything's more fun. Jackie Gleason, you get to see just how bloodshot the man's eyes are when he yells. Like, and
Those insults. Those insults.
yeah.
Fantastic.
And so, how many of, let's see, Gabe, you have one son. Dean, how many children do you have?
3 children.
3 children. Okay, so the fact that you actually are here with your wife tonight means that you've never insulted them to the point where you've wanted to punch their mother in the mouth.
I'm not going to answer this question.
I played the
She's actually here, so no.
She stepped out for a moment, but we'll see if we can get
that's never
Shauna's take on.
I didn't get.
No, Gabe, you've never reached that point with your son to where.
No, and I was saying on the movie, I've not seen it in a very long time. I remember how much I've forgotten. The white trash genetics I have in me, just love the Trans Am. I mean, just my God, it popped a redneck boner. It doesn't happen to me a lot. Yeah, Jackie Gleason makes this. He is Buford T. Justice. Like every line he utters is hilarious. They don't make character actors like him anymore. Burt Reynolds is just the perfect, cocky, cool guy that you will never be that cool. Sally Field plays a tremendous role, I think overlooked a lot, just as a, just kind of playing off of him and never getting annoying, but never getting too cloying either. And Jerry Reed as Snowman, is fantastic. The song, the fact that everyone gets a line, like there's just like all these bit players that you can't do anymore because of union rules. Everybody gets a line in this movie. Just like the random redneck on the side of the road, you get to hear a little bit of his life, just a little peek before the Bandit continues on his trek.
Yeah, and that I think is part of what makes trucking so attractive in this movie is that you travel the country and you see all these weird, quirky people that you never meet. The bordello run out of the motorhome, the gal with the hot pants that will help you avoid the police. I mean, just all kinds of characters that normal people in the 70s and 80s wouldn't have run into. All right, so going back to the car, the Trans Am, 6.6 liter, I think maybe had about 200 to 220 horsepower. In other words, probably roughly the same 0 to 60 time as a Miata or a BRZ these days. But it's not that fast by today's standards, but honestly, a 911 of that era wasn't that much faster. So for its time, it wasn't a bad car. So the question is to all of us here who are autocrossers, not if, but when are one of us going to build one of these for the classic American muscle class? Dean, any plans?
No.
Marcus?
No plans, but it would have a loud exhaust and a powerful motor.
Deech?
Well, I have plans for everything, as it turns out. Unfortunately, my plans for this have already been usurped by Mark Madarash out of Texas. It would be great to build a car like that. And,
Wait, does Mark Madarash have Coors?
I don't know.
Because there are people thirsty in Atlanta.
I imagine looking at the guy, he might.
There you go. Is he your co-driver this year?
No,
for
no, not yet, at least. Mark, if you're listening, I know you've got a CP car. That's yeah. Let's talk.
Oh, that's another good class for a Bandit car. Yeah, you know, just have a Firebird shell, run it in CP, put an LS under there, or anything you want, and some Hoosier slicks.
Question: How many Trans Ams did this movie sell in the 70s?
Oh, I mean, honestly, if a movie like this with a Pontiac like that had come out in 2008, I think they would have axed Buick instead of Pontiac during the GM bankruptcy. I mean, because this movie sold a lot of Pontiacs. I think. I forget what the numbers were, but yeah, Pontiac they didn't really go that far in with the product placement. They only gave them a few cars, but their minimal investment certainly paid off.
I mean, obviously, they had the caveat that it can't get beat up. Although they supplied the police cruisers as well, which, as James pointed out, didn't exist. There were no Pontiac police cruisers. So, but all of them got trashed. But the Trans Am doesn't have a scratch. It's shiny. There's no dust on it. That was obviously a caveat they put in there. And my God, I remember being a kid in the early '80s, and every white trash dude who had a little bit of money had a black Trans Am. It had to be black. You can't get a non-black Trans Am. That's just weird.
Well, I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
So, Deech, you found some technical information on the Trans Am.
I did, and the thing that stood out for me in particular was 6.6 liters back in 1977 produced a whopping 180 horsepower.
Oh my God. That's so essentially Honda with 2.2 liters. 10 years later, thereabouts, made a Prelude with the same amount of horsepower.
That it did.
And half the cylinders.
That it
But
did.
we always
And a
think,
third of the displacement.
we always think of those as being heavy. Did it say how much those were? Because I think they're surprisingly light
I wouldn't be
compared
surprised.
to modern cars without the
Well,
electronics.
the biggest issue back then, of course, is that's in the emergence of catalytic converters in cars, and that was the biggest choke point in performance. Weight, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look that up and get back to you guys on that.
Well, it's the car still looks great, and I think it looked better than the corresponding Camaro, frankly.
I think it's the selling point of the car is the look.
Yeah, absolutely, and the T-tops, which I don't know, I still kind of miss. I guess Mazda's kind of brought that back a little bit with the RF hardtop, but not quite the same.
That's the hood indentation.
Yep, not the hood indentation, the removable glass panels on the roof.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's another thing. Did you guys notice in the 1970s, nobody wore a seatbelt?
Yes, we talked about
At all. Not the cars were that safe back then, but nobody wore a
They literally
seatbelt.
tore them out when they bought them back then.
Yeah.
My dad was mad when he had to find his seatbelts and reinstall them in the early '80s.
Wow, your dad is from Arkansas.
West Virginia actually, but close enough.
Oh, how much does the car weigh?
And we've got some weights in the car. The car, 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, 3,530 pounds. And Mark has actually looked at the 0 to 60 performance to 9.3 seconds.
Good
That
lord.
is to say, a first-generation Miata is about as fast.
That's the 1.6 liter open diff Miata, as fast as this 6.6 liter V8.
From 13 years ago.
Yeah, that's
At that point.
At that point, yeah.
that's well, this car certainly in the movie did more than that.
Although it only burned, you only saw it burning out when it was turning.
That's true.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever burned
Well,
out
it
in a
wasn't
straight
just.
line.
The thing was, it wasn't about speed. It was about intelligence of the road. Is what he was because it was never anywhere implied that he was faster than the
I think the
cruisers.
fantastic thing is that he used the word intelligence and Smokey and the Bandit in the same sentence.
He was more clever than the cops.
Yeah.
He never says I can outrun these guys. He's always I'm going to do something.
That's a good point.
And I'm going to be a better driver than them, and they're going to fall into another body of water, which I think happened about 8 times.
Yeah. That's he never beat them on sheer speed. It was always beating them by, usually, as Gabe said, ditching them in the river. So yeah, that's
But he could play a movie that got a bit overplayed.
If that's my one complaint, it would be that. But overall, excellent movie. Every gearhead should see it, and if you get the chance, see it on the big screen. All right, we just had an important question. What we do always on Reels and Wheels is, if you're going to make this movie today, what's the car? What is the modern equivalent? What would you use if you needed a blocker car to haul a bunch of weed from Colorado to Georgia?
C7 Corvette.
C7.
C7 Corvette, no question about it.
All right, why the C7?
It is iconic, it is beautiful, it is fast, it has a lot of space to carry stuff, as it turns out.
Well, you're carrying the weed in the truck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good point. I guess space isn't that necessary then.
No, it's got to be.
No, you're carrying the truck has the wheel.
Okay, let's get to the important parts here. The top can come off so Sally Field can stand up and get changed.
Who plays Sally Field?
Who plays Sally Field? That's a question that I probably won't touch here. I don't know. To me, I don't think there's anything more iconic nowadays than a Corvette. And granted, I'm a little biased, I must say, at this point.
That's true.
I saw your Corvette. Yeah, I can imagine.
But I think it's classic American, and I can't think of anything, maybe outside of a Camaro or a Mustang. But I think
Charger?
the Corvette is
I could see him using a Hellcat.
a Hellcat possibly. And a Hellcat, I think, actually, in a way, captures the spirit of it more in just it being a brawler of a car more than a performance sports car.
That's true, yeah, because, I mean, if you think about it, sad as this is, in 1977, 180 horsepower was the top of the muscle car game.
Yeah.
So a Hellcat might not be a bad idea. All right, Marcus, any ideas? What would you use?
The Hellcat and the C7 sound like excellent ideas. I'm not sure I could come up with anything drastically different. The Mustang just doesn't seem to fit the character at all. Camaro, maybe.
And you can see you can make a case to the Camaro just from a nostalgia standpoint.
You know, I would almost argue that the Camaro and the Mustang have gotten to a point of refinement that is too high for this movie.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say a Challenger is probably more of a muscle car, like the old Trans Am was in the modern Camaro and Mustang.
That's what I was going. I was going to say Dodge Charger. It has to be something currently in production, because that's how you're going to get the sponsor money.
That's true.
So you think
That's
about
true.
logically, you can't pull out a Barracuda because
Yeah.
you're not selling any cars then. So
Yeah.
I say it's a Dodge Charger. I don't know who's playing the Sally Field part. Going back to my original point, Bandit's The Rock.
Bandit's the Rock.
Because why not?
I want Bandit to be Matthew McConaughey, and I really don't know why. Oh, and then he's
Zach
driving a
Galifianakis
Lincoln.
as Smokey.
Oh, that would work. That would work.
Yes, I agree with that.
Let's see.
And I really want him to drive a Prius because they're about the same horsepower.
That is kind of sad, actually, that a modern-day Prius could give that Trans Am a run for her money.
Now, hold on. Are we trying to get from here to Texarkana and back on one tank of
No,
gas?
we're in Colorado, so we
Oh, we gotta go to Colorado.
We got to stretch the time.
We're green.
Yeah.
We're going green.
On multiple levels of the word green?
Yes.
Rosario Dawson as the Sally Field character. She's Prague.
Interesting.
That's an interesting choice. Yeah. That's,
I think I'm too old.
Snowman, I'm drawing a blank on.
yeah, because I mean, we've got all this stadium country now. I don't know anyone who's writing like real country. You know.
I mean, I know, but no one knows who they
He doesn't
are.
have to write. The guy who plays Snowman doesn't have to write the songs too. He can make that
Get
stuff
Sturgill
up.
Simpson to do it. That's my vote.
Now,
You get Georgia Florida Line. They're going to write some crappy version
Oh,
of it,
God, no.
or cover Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
Just to piss everybody off.
If we're true to the spirit of the movie, I suppose whoever Snowman is going to be is going to have to write the song for the movie too. So, what redneck can we think of that can drive a truck?
Our bartender suggests Brad Paisley, who's an amazing guitar player, much like Jerry Reed. So not a bad idea.
Yeah, that could work. I don't know enough about country music.
I
to
don't
know.
either. I'm assuming he can
He,
wear a cowboy hat.
he plays
I think he
he
does.
does play pop country, but he actually plays his own guitar, and he's fantastic. He's a really really high level guitar player.
All right, so here's some ideas that we didn't think of for the car. At this point in time where they made Smokey and the Bandit, the only Japanese cars on the road were like first-gen Civics and the Honda Civic
Accord.
GL. Or not the Honda Civic GL, the Subaru GL.
And the Accord 5-speed.
Yeah.
So
You have
Toyota's not yet?
Subaru Grants on the road at this point also.
Close to it. So in the modern era, though, what cars from other countries, Europe or Japan or Korea, can we think of that would actually suit? I would think from Japan, maybe a GTR.
That's the first thing that popped in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's fast. It's really, not that it can't turn, but in my mind, I think of it more of a muscle car than a sports car. So that can work, or maybe an STI. I mean, Subaru, they've been going on the Birkenstock marketing thing for so long. If they wanted to change their brand image, what better way?
I think I would actually take a little bit of a step back and go with the twin turbo Supra.
Oh, a Mark IV.
Yes.
Honestly, when it comes to Japanese muscle cars, it's not a bad idea. Honestly, Marcus, your Z car would not be a bad blocker car, all things considered.
Really not.
Yeah.
Give it some forced induction, supercharger, turbo, put out 500-600 newton wheels.
That's true, although...
Okay, for marketing purposes, do you think America's going to accept the blocker being a foreign car?
Well,
after the Fast and the Furious, yes.
I would say, and I just have to put my piece in, as the current Miata owner, kind of. You got to go with the flying Miata V8. Take a Miata
Interesting
and
combination.
throw the V8 in it.
Americanizing a Miata.
And it's convertible.
And you can change your...
Yeah, you can change clothes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so lots of ideas for recasting the cars. And all right, any final thoughts on the movie?
I had no idea that Georgia was the adventure state.
Not either.
Yeah, that's the old. I remember that from a long time ago. I'm the old man here. There's 2 sequels which never get talked about. There's Smokey the Bandit 2, which I believe, and someone will probably tell me if I'm wrong, that it picks up right where that movie left off. And the third one, Smokey is the Bandit, which I've never seen. And I wonder how that works. And I think Jack Lisa was dead by then, so they must have got a new Smokey.
So here's the thing. I really love the Alien movie franchise. And by that I mean I love the first one and the second one. If I'd gone my entire life without seeing Alien 3, my life would be a little bit better. That's why I'm not going to watch the Smokey and the Bandit sequels.
All I know is I have a car with a big V8 in it, and it's black, and I kind of like beer. So I feel a road trip in my future.
I see a screaming chicken on the hood.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's it for the Reels and Wheels podcast. We'll get this posted up soon. Thanks, guys, for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.